Musictown, Detroit, recording live. Prepare yourself for a hoppy drive. If you're chilling at home, pop that crowler and just kick back for the next 2 hours. It's the end of the week, so here's to the weekend. It's Better on Draft with Rob, Matt, Nick, and Ken.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to episode number 220. You know, I do this 227 every single week. I've been doing this 227 fucking shows. Every single week, I still got it. I drop an F-bomb within the first minute. You know, it is Friday. It is July 17th. We are still doing this via Zoom, which is perfectly fine because I get to talk to you lovely people each and every week, which just makes my weekend. You know, everyone, I'm all excited. Like, you work towards this moment. I am excited to drink, but I am going to start with Robert. What are you drinking and how are you doing?
I am doing all right. Gone through a few things this week, but everything is working out A-okay, and everybody is still healthy. I finally replaced my alien mask, as you will see right here. That it works out very well and freaks people out. But right now I am drinking Batch Brewing's version of Black is Beautiful. As I'm about to crack that open. This is their Imperial Stout. It's brewed with raspberries, cocoa nibs, and espresso.
All right. Yeah, I actually had that last week because I went in and got a glass, and I want to show you because I think this is the first time we may have done this on the show. So I know you're drinking Batch. I am also drinking Batch in this glass, which is Autonomous Collective. And don't worry because I'm not double fisting. I'm pitchering today. So this is what I'm drinking.
Well,
Dan,
is that your,
Dan, you
is that
roll your
one-up
eyes
of
as
the day?
if we don't drink pitchers. Like, we buy our own
My
separate
God.
pitchers just so we don't have to share.
I know.
So
My bad.
speaking, Dan, what are you drinking over there?
You know, I'm pulling the Nick today. I got a couple of things here. I've got an Intrepid Orchid from Bottle Logic. It's a vanilla barley wine, barrel-aged. Let me say that again. Barrel-aged vanilla barley wine.
Oh, my God.
And then I've got what is this called? A Camper Red from Simple Machine. It's a nice light red ale. It's not too bad, but a little too light for my likes these days
And I
compared to
feel like
this barley wine.
We have to ask, what is the weather over there?
Oh, it's only about 108 right now, I think. It's actually pretty nice.
Only
It's
one
probably
way.
nicer here than it is there if I'm thinking how it is there right now.
It's a bit muggy, that's for damn sure. I'm definitely feeling it. I didn't want to have background noise, so I turned the fan off behind me, and I'm definitely regretting that right now. But Wendy, what's going on? How are you, and what are you drinking?
I am fantastic. I'm actually enjoying the lower temperatures, even though the mugginess has taken its toll. Today I am drinking a Mitten Brewing Company Triple Crown Brown. And rather than pull a Nick, I thought I would pull a Ken, and I'm going to follow that up with a Mitten Brewing Triple Crown Brown.
Oh,
Yes.
the same can twice.
Thought I'd try something new today.
Nice.
Nice.
And speaking of Nick, are you pulling a Nick?
When am I not ever pulling a Nick?
I don't know.
What to say? So I actually had some stuff brought to me by my mom after she left her house. She sold her house a couple weeks ago and brought me the beer that I left there after I moved out to move in with my now wife. So
Oh, that was nice. Verb.
this is gonna be very interesting because I don't know how well this actually aged, and it probably didn't. I got some Ukrainian beer it's called Obolon. I don't know, nice cool green bottle. We'll see how bad it is. And Dan, this one's probably more for you because you like Mastodon, right? The band?
Yeah, of course.
I got a Mastodon Mars Brau, the Hunter. It's a German beer. I don't know what kind of German beer, but it's bottled by Mars Brau in Bamberg, Germany. And so
Nice.
and it has Mastodon on it. So we'll see how that is.
No, it's guaranteed to have water, wheat, and house. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
so it's the light or the dark.
I think it's lighter. And you know what? For being a few years old, still pretty good.
There you go.
All right.
I just want you to know, when I left beer at my parents' house, my dad just drank it. He didn't bring it back.
Dad tax.
I'm the only one that really drank beer in the house. My mom doesn't drink. My dad was a Bloody Mary guy, and I was the beer guy, or just alcohol in general. So.
Yeah,
more for me.
I'm actually trying to find the episode that we did, and I can't. But I remember when we did the metal beers episode, and we had a bunch of beers that were made by metal bands. They're like sponsored.
Oh, yeah.
I think this was supposed to be one of them. I think.
Yeah, I don't.
That's how old it is.
Probably. I remember we had Badass, and I think it was getting brewed by Atwater at the time, or officially it was like Badass Brewery in Detroit, but it was brewed by Atwater because it was brewed by Hazen. But we do have a guest sitting so patient, so quiet. Thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you introduce yourself, tell us where you work, and what you do there.
My name is Chris Andrus. I'm the co-owner and co-founder of the Mitten Brewing Company. With our headquarters in Grand Rapids, we have small pubs in Northport, Michigan, and Saugatuck, Michigan. And I'm drinking not my own beer. Total fail, I know. Drinking a Founder's Solid Gold.
Well, I'm pretty sure you probably drink enough of your own beer because you got to taste it to make sure that
I had a few at lunch today, so that counts.
Well, as they always say, you can't drink all day unless you start in the morning. So
that's right.
I started my campaign today to get my boss to allow me to drink beer while I'm getting paid.
Good luck with that.
I'm trying.
So how did Mitten Brewing come about? What is the origin story for Mitten Brewing?
So we opened in 2012, and I was actually a professional singer-songwriter for the decade prior to that. And my business partner and friend since first grade, Max Treeweiler, had been working for a marketing company for a long time, and he wasn't going to go any further at that company. So he and I started talking about doing something together. I had given music my best shot. And I remember sleeping in the van one night outside of some bar in Ohio as I had just turned 30, and I realized I'd passed my expiration date and it was time to do something else. So we started, chatting about doing something together. And we brought a homebrew kit, just like a lot of brewery owners do. I started talking about it. We took it super seriously, way too seriously. Like even from the first batch we made, we were reading the textbooks and trying to get that first beer right. We brewed the same beer like 50 times in a row to try to get it perfect. It wasn't like, some dudes brew in the garage and drink as much as they do anything else. Not us. We had all the refractometers and we were trying to get it right. We were pretty nerdy about it, actually, to tell you the truth.
What was the first beer that you were brewing, that you rebrewed
Pale
50
ale.
times? Just a pale ale?
Pale ale, yep. It's now Mitten Pale Ale. But
okay.
we were such fans of the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. That was our gateway beer. And we kind of had the west side of Grand Rapids in mind for our location. And it's very much, we were the first brewery there since Prohibition. So we knew we had to have like that ambassador beer, that beer that everyone can drink. We couldn't come out with only hop bombs. It would have driven people away. So I don't know. That's how we started. And I still think that's the most important style to do. I'll judge a brewery on their pale ale more than anything else. It's deceptively difficult to get right. Yeah, I think it's the canary in a coal mine when you're going to a brewery. See if their pale ale's any good before you go anywhere else.
I think a lot of breweries are the exact same whenever they go, because whenever we've been doing this for almost 5 years now, and whenever we talk to a brewery, one of the big things is that they want to try your Pils, your Pale, or your Kolsch. Like if they see one of those three beers in there, because those are the three beers you really can't hide behind.
Yep.
So
you're going to see how clean the process is in those beers.
Exactly. Which maybe that's why you were really hard on yourself doing 50 times for that pale ale just to get it right. Are you currently brewing, or are you just on the business side right now?
So we thought we would brew. Max and I did. We thought we'd run the business, brew the beer, everything. That was stupid because right away we realized there was way too much to do. And we started with a 3-barrel system, and on opening night, we ran out of a couple batches and we were like, we're screwed. This system is way undersized. So now we have 5 full-time brewers. We have 2 brew houses. We have the 3-barrel in the pub. We have a 20-barrel production brew house across the street. And that's where our offices are as well. So unfortunately, I don't do much brewing, if at all, but some of the original beers we used to make are still being made and are some of the best sellers. Like our Peanuts and Cracker Jack Porter, that was a homebrew. Country Strong IPA is my recipe. Mango Gold, I worked with the brewers to develop. So I'm still getting creative input in, but
for my own personal
way.
need, we made a peanut butter pale ale over at Atwater in the Park, and we got reamed because apparently the Mitten Brewing is the only brewery that can make this beer. So for the public, if you don't mind, can you approve that I made that beer and it was okay? Not
No,
that
don't
it tasted
do it.
okay,
Don't
that it was
do
just
it.
okay to make.
It's a trap.
And
Yeah, it's
house.
okay with me. Just don't make a better one. That's all.
I mean, Brad over there does really, really good, but he had me and Matt Bush helping him, so I know that didn't help at all. We were really good at drinking the double decadent mint chocolate chip beer for sure. So what was great to hear is that Wendy was so excited to talk to you, because there is a huge story about Mitten Brewing that a lot of people may not know about, and I'll let her get into it a little bit and ask you some questions.
So one of my favorite podcasts that I listen to at work, besides, us, of course, is That's Why We Drink. And their format is they've got one girl that talks about paranormal activity that tells a paranormal story, and one girl that tells a true crime story. So it's like the best of both worlds for someone like me. Yeah. So I was super excited to ask questions about your brewery. I'm so geeked it's ridiculous. So
You're
I would
totally
like you to tell us
right now, Wendy.
I am.
That out there.
I would like you to tell us one of your stories about stuff that's happened. Like I saw that you even had like the Grand Rapids ghost hunters come in, all that. I mean, that to me is amazing. So I would like a story.
Well, thank you. And also the show Ghost Hunters on whatever network it's on now, they're supposed to be coming.
Oh, that's cool.
They had to push it back because of COVID, but we signed all the papers and everything, so they're gonna send the TAPS crew out to do an overnight at the Mitten. So I've always been interested in the paranormal. We used to go ghost hunting in high school all the time. We used to go look for the Ada Witch, all the haunts around here in Grand Rapids. So our building, if you haven't been there, it's a Victorian fire barn. It's built in 1891. Firemen have lived and died in that building. It closed in 1966 as a firehouse and went into private use. But so when we got the building, we started stripping everything back to the bones. And we were there late at night every night, ripping down walls. And we started to hear things, started to hear our names being shouted or footsteps. We'd see shadows moving in the corner. And at first we were kind of shrugging it off, and then it kept happening. And we didn't talk about it with each other until 4 or 5 times. I'm like, dude, are you hearing this? He's like, oh my God, I don't want to say anything. I feel like someone saying our name in the next room. And you could hear feet dragging on the floor. And we were working 16-hour days. So we were there morning till night. And we had the little lamps that you clamp onto things. We didn't have lights or anything. So the shadows were long. And we started seeing things. And we talked to a man that used to live in our building before we got it from him. And we asked him if he ever saw any ghosts or anything. And I'll never forget. He just froze and he's like, yeah, what did you guys see? I'm like, what did you see? And he's like, I've seen it. I've seen a full body apparition. I've seen things walk into my room in and out of it. It's nothing that you need to be afraid of. There's nothing dangerous, but just know that it's there. And then we were super scared. But so then a long time went on when nothing happened. But the common thread being that every time we change something drastically in that building, there's this surge of activity. So anytime we're remodeling or renovating or changing the way the building's laid out, it seems to stir up something. So opening week, I was the last one to leave the engine house and the first one in the next day. So I mopped all the floors. And you know how if you leave mop water wet and you walk through it or something, you'll have these little footprints and like these little white soapy footprints. So I mopped it, locked it, went home, came back the next morning, and I go into the front lobby and I see there's barefoot footprints dried in the mop water in the front lobby. And I'm the only one with the key. Max, we were supposed to open many months before, but he had planned his honeymoon for what ended up being our opening week. So he was not there. It was non-refundable. It was long days for me. So basically I was opening and closing the joint every night. So I saw these footprints, and I got up closer and looked at them and saw they were child's footprints. It was like a little kid. Footprints were that long, and they just went in a circle in the middle of the room. They never came into the room. They never left the room. They started and stopped in this little circular pattern.
Wow.
So I snapped a picture, and I think that picture is actually on our website. If not, I'll send it to you. And later on, we were renovating and building our upstairs tap room. We tore down a wall, and we ripped off the plaster, and there was a white child's footprint, as bright as can be, on the backside of the boards from that room. So we took that board off, measured it, same size as the footprints in the mop water, because you can tell by the maple floorboard.
I just got goosebumps. I'm not lying right now.
And we built that. We put that board and put it in the upstairs bar. So if you ever go sit upstairs, you can see that white footprint in the bar top.
Well, you just moved to the top of my list because you've always been on the list of places to visit, but you definitely have moved to the top of the list.
Well, thank you. We have a. So
have you ever done any research to try and find out who it might be?
There's 2 firefighters that died in service at or near the building, but beyond that, nothing that I can find with children. And the Grand Rapids Ghost Hunters got electronic equipment. They got some. They got a name that said John. They've got some pretty good audio, but no, I've never been able to.
Got some EVPs out of there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of.
Wow.
I'm so tired.
That's all right. Before we keep going, I do have a question. I'm just going to ask it to everyone, and it's very simple. Do you guys believe in ghosts?
Yes.
I mean, ghosts, spirits, spectrals, whatever else the one lady said.
I've actually seen one.
You've seen a ghost?
Yes. Which is why I believe in it so strongly.
Okay. I'm up for it. I believe that it could exist, but I'm also one of those I'd like to at least see some proof as probably something starts moving behind me.
I haven't seen anything, but definitely I've heard noises. I mean, some of the places that I've lived, one place in particular, I live with a couple friends in Royal Oak, and I remember in getting into the house that I was being given the room where the grandfather of the friend I was living with had died in his sleep. And, when I got in there and set up in the room and just that night just started hearing some noises. And I just remember just looking up and it said, bro, I just live here. I pay the rent. You can do whatever it is that you want to do in this house. You can go spook your grandson if you want to, but I'm just trying to sleep.
You could go spook your grandson.
me personally, I do believe it, but at the same time, I'm kind of like Ken. I did have one experience with a mutual friend that Ken and I have back in high school, where he took his camera and he shot it into the auditorium, into the seats. We were standing on the stage, and he took multiple shots, so he didn't move the camera or anything like that. And once he showed the photos, we saw this weird white, I don't know what it was, but the other photos that he was taking of the same spot, and without moving the camera, he did rapid photo or whatever, it didn't show it. And I do know that there was at least one suicide in my old high school. Back with that, in the early 90s or something like that. I don't know if it was in the auditorium, but it was somewhere in the high school but again, I'm same with Ken. I need to.
So prior to this, Chris, did you believe in ghosts? Does this do you believe in ghosts now?
Yeah, I did, and I do, and I wonder what's strange about this quote unquote haunting is that it's not consistent. There's people hear different things, see different things, and I read a lot about tulpas, manifestations of our subconscious. And I wonder if, because we had those initial hauntings and it's become a part of the lore of the Mitten, that just the sheer amount of people in that building now, which is never, 4 firemen lived there at a time. It was never hugely occupied. Now there's hundreds of people in there and talking about this, discussing it, believing it. I wonder if somehow, some way they're manifesting this phenomenon in a way that makes sense to them. And maybe it takes something that may be there in low levels and puts it in high level. I don't know. Like I said, the staff always hears stuff. They have a little ghost journal. They're late at night, and they're like, they've seen like plates go flying, and then they'll write it down on Tuesday, March, whatever this happened. So I comb through those, and there's no consistency whatsoever.
Do the plates go flying, or were they just blaming the ghost for them dropping a bunch of plates?
That's what I would do.
DVD.
Tina the waitress dropped all these plates.
I am done washing dishes today.
The damn ghost knocked the dishes off.
Let's blame the ghost.
Blame the ghost.
They're all dirty.
It seems to be after midnight, it's like the witching hour. And when we had the ghost hunters there overnight, all the phenomenon happened right at 3:00 in the morning. Nothing prior to that, nothing after that. It was all like within 10 minutes.
So with some of the, obviously it always seems like a brewery always tends to have a theme with the brewers, like as far as beer names, with these and ghost and supernatural. Are there any beers that are themed towards some of those experiences that have happened?
Not really. We do have the last fireman. We found a fireman had written his name on the wall in 1923. His name was John Penning, and he had driven the last horse-drawn hose cart for the city. We named a beer after his horses, which were named Ned and George. But for a long time, we thought that fireman was the haunt there because he was one of the only names we found in the place. And he worked there for 35 years. And we thought maybe he left some sort of imprint on this space and time, but it doesn't seem to be. It seems to be a little girl, from all I can tell.
Right.
Go on, Rob.
I was just gonna say, and I mean, as far as your locations, and I was looking at them. Obviously, you have, your location in Grand Rapids, that being the firehouse, and there's Northport, and Saugatuck being your third one that was added. With the firehouse, and then I saw that Saugatuck was a pre-Civil War home before. It was like way back in the day, and it definitely seems like going for those older buildings is something that you definitely want to go for. So I guess I got to tell us about that kind of selection process of what you're looking for when you're looking for those locations, and what you want in a location for, not only for you to enjoy, but, for your consumers to come in and enjoy the history of it.
Well, for whatever reason, I always pick buildings that need a ton of work and have really low functionality, which is painful. But that is on purpose. We like, the firehouse has so much character. And at one time we thought about buying different firehouses and doing it in different places, but getting that building up to code was such a pain. But I think first and foremost, we look for a place that has character, that has like an authentic vibe. And, we wanted to have standalone buildings. We didn't want it to be in a mini mall or right next to something else. We wanted you to be able to consider all the locations as destinations and discrete entities, not part of a mercantile of shops, But I don't really know why I'm drawn to the old buildings, other than the fact that they're interesting and have character.
Well, it's always great to have a nice looking building outside of a cookie cutter, especially for a brewery, because we have a lot of those out here where I'm at. You see them, they're just in a strip mall. They don't really stick out. When you have the brewery that does stick out, it's a nice, unique place. People, I don't know, seem to be drawn more towards it.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a more authentic experience to go to some place that it's a native location that's repurposed something that was something else and breathe new life into it. I feel like, I've been to breweries all over the country, and that was the common thread, was revitalizing areas and neighborhoods and buildings and turning manufacturing space into thriving retail space.
We saw, for the most part, we see a lot of old churches turning into breweries. And that seems to be a very common thing, just because these churches, whether the congregation ages out and the kids don't take over from the pastor, and there's just, or it's a, smaller church, because prior to, these mega churches, every town had a couple churches, one for the Baptists, one for, maybe the Catholics, a temple, like these types of things, to where all these people are congregating to bigger spaces as opposed to the smaller city ones. So what I like,
city ones had all the interesting architecture, which translates well to repurposing.
Well, I think they had interesting architecture because I think they were probably not built by professionals too, so they probably have some bad fire issues too. The one thing that I loved, and I don't know if you got a chance to come over to this side of town when it was open, but when they opened up Cellarman's over at the old lumber facility. And this place was a huge lumber yard where they were able to just slap down because there was so much open space because that's all they housed was wood. And they were able to like make their entire building out of wood that was just left over. So they were able to start making tables out of them and chairs out of them and a bar out of them. So I think the having a brewery that has a good aesthetic, and we didn't touch about it last week when we talked to Secret Hopper, but that is something, as you know, Wendy said, like, you know, because of the whole ghost story and stuff, that's something that makes people want to, you know, go out there and check it out. But if you have something that looks beautiful, like a building that just looks great, obviously I'm going to want to go look at it because I want to see what's inside. I want to see the hard work that you put in there. And when you have such a dilapidated love that apparently you have, where you go for these old, you know, buildings that you need to work a lot in, I think it gives you the ability to add a lot of your own personal touch. Where was, like, Grand Rapids and Northport aren't close to each other.
No, they're not.
Where did that jump come from?
So we had always dreamed of having a second smaller location, but you're never looking at your bank account and saying, all right, what are we going to do with this money? Let's start another one. No, you're always just trying to get to the next pay period. So we were looking, but not really looking. And a friend of mine moved out of Grand Rapids, went up to Northport, and ran a food truck in the parking lot of a brewery called Northport Brewing. And I went up there and visited him a couple times, and he had I forget what they were making, but the food truck was called Earth, Wind, and Fryer. He's very pun happy.
Nice.
Yeah.
But he had kind of mentioned that there was some issues at that brewery, and there was an owner dispute, and looked like they were going to go out of business. And so he was asking me maybe if Mitten could contract brew for them to get them through the summer, and then the conversation turned to, what if you guys just took over? So it wasn't something that was on my radar. We called the landlord, and 2 weeks later, all of a sudden, we're talking about doing this thing that was never something we were necessarily looking for. I barely knew Northport. I thought it was North Point, I think, at that point in time. But I knew it was way far north of Traverse City. Because everyone thinks it's by Traverse City, but it's actually 45 minutes north. It's pretty much where M22 ends.
Yeah.
Past Sutton's Bay.
Yeah,
so it's a good 3 hours from Grand Rapids.
I haven't even gotten a chance to go past Sutton's Bay. Because I think
so if you hit Hop Lot, we're like 15 minutes north of Hop Lot.
Yeah, you've got, because there's I'm sure there's a couple, but there's a casino up there that I remember going to.
Yep, Pashabi Town.
Pashabi Town, yeah.
Yep.
The one that used to close at like 2 a.m. every night.
I was working mornings, so I was going there at like 3 in the afternoon when I was done.
Actually, I think I said it wrong, because I think it's Shelby Town, but everything up there is a confusing name that does not pronounce the way that it looks. So, yeah, I always say it wrong. It's spelled Pashabi Town, but I think it's Pashabi Town.
Let's just call it Pashabi Town.
Okay.
So, with, this is the first chance we've had to talk to someone who's been in one of the lightly hit regions of COVID. Because the Traverse City area and the UP are regions 6 and 8, I believe. So you guys started phases earlier up there. How are things going, especially during the summer when it's your vacation money area?
Yeah, it's no joke. It's been the hardest experience of my life, which I guess in some ways says that I did not have that hard of a life. But it's managing the company through and surviving. It's been, especially with 3 different branches, it's been an unbelievable challenge, keeping everyone in jobs, keeping everyone happy, and keeping the staff COVID free. And unfortunately, this week, Wednesday, we had our first staff member test positive for COVID. But for the 120 days prior to that, we served some 25,000 customers every day. I mean, we were open every day, served that many customers with no cases. And we think our person that got sick outside of the workplace. But so even though we're in Kent County, we really haven't had any experience directly with it until this week. And actually, I thought we were past it. I got the call this Wednesday. We had a test. We knew he was sick, so we got a test done, and I was like, shit, we almost made it.
Well,
it's a very mild case, and he's doing great.
Well,
that was gonna be a question.
Yes.
Like, how is he doing?
He's a young man and barely any symptoms. Fortunately,
he's at home listening to this podcast and taking notes so that he can come back to work.
But it's been hard, especially in Grand Rapids, and I'm thankful that we have our food menu is very pizza centric, and that translated well to takeout. And during the first shutdown, I remember when the stay-at-home order came, I remember thinking, shit, I can't believe this. We're going to be closed for 2 weeks. This is going to be so hard. That was weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks ago.
I'll post it in the show notes, but have you guys seen there's a comedian that makes videos on YouTube. I can't think of her name, but she visits her past self and talks about, and then does it again like 2 months later to visit her past self who just visited the January self. If we talked, I honestly thought we were going to be back maybe in studio back in like June if everything went to plan. But again, shit changes, and we hear a lot more stuff because Dan's obviously in Arizona, which is turning into a little bit more of an epicenter down there. Congratulations, Dan.
Thank you. We're number one.
It was those darn casinos.
But so what was the order of your breweries? You went Grand Rapids and then Saugatuck, Northport, or Northport, Saugatuck?
Northport, Saugatuck. So from 2012 to 2014, we had just our pub system. We were brewing around the clock on this 3-barrel system to keep up. And fortunately, we had a lot of customers right off the bat. It was in kind of the heyday of opening breweries, but we were making beers, turning around beers in 9 or 10 days, which is such a terrible brewing sin. But we had no choice. It was either close or push beers along. So we realized we needed to have another facility. We needed to make bigger batches. And that wasn't going to be possible in the engine house because it's 127-year-old brick landmark. You can't stretch it, nor can you alter the outside in any way because the Historic Preservation Commission has jurisdiction over that. So we have all these, we can't really do anything to the outside. It rings all sorts of bells at the city. So we financed a 20-barrel brew house across the street. So that was our first, it's technically another location, even though it's across the street. And 2016 was Northport, and 2018 was Saugatuck. Last year was our first full summer in Saugatuck. We opened right at the beginning of summer, and nobody really knew who we were, so we had kind of a quiet launch there in 2018. We've gone up from about 500 barrels to almost 3,000.
Yeah, I'm trying to think when I went to Saugatuck last, because I worked in there, but I don't recall having you guys like on the list that you were open or opening. So definitely a little bit quieter, which is probably nice in that kind of town because that's a lot of foot traffic you have over there where people are just bar hopping, going from one bar to the next to the next. I'm actually trying to go down to see exactly where I was working at. And
we're right across from the Mermaid and Coral Gables. We're on the other side of the road.
Yeah, I think I was at the Barge, where I was working based on looking at the nice little Google map that I have here. And
so we're not far down from the Barge.
Because I remember walking past the ferry. So yeah, because I don't even remember Coppercraft being there, but I wasn't drinking necessarily in downtown Saugatuck. I was staying off of 196, hopping up and down because that was my chance to go to Guardian for the first time.
Yep.
And I actually went there during their soft opening, not even knowing that it was a soft opening. They're just like, yeah, we just kind of opened our doors to see what was happening.
They're good people, by the way.
I loved Saugatuck. It was so nice, and it was what was nice is that you get that opportunity to go into a bar when no one else is really there, and so you get that extra hands-on because one, they want contact, so they're just talking to you just to talk to you because you can only I know the mantra, if you can lean you can clean, but you can only clean so much before you're just kind of cleaning the same spot over and over again, like what's it, Mo at Mo's bar, just wiping down the same spot on the bar. When was the last time you brewed a beer? I mean, you said you're not brewing anymore, but when was the last time you brewed a beer?
like start to finish, like pour the grain and everything.
Yeah, did the dirty work.
Gonna be 7 years probably.
Oh my
God.
gosh.
Wow.
Yeah, once in a while we'll come in and do a hop strike and everything, but it's sad. And honestly, I don't even know if I
miss it.
I don't know if I have the goods anymore. These other guys are so much better than I ever was. It would be like, I don't know, Michael Phelps come out of retirement and doing a belly flop.
I feel like that's like something that I've always heard was like when brewers go into business and they have to run the business, that it takes them away from what brought them into the business, and not being able to. I mean, do you miss it? I mean, it sounds like you miss it.
I do. I liked that, the single-mindedness of going in and brewing and trying to get something right, because we were trying to brew and then vendors and people are coming in nonstop. You're constantly getting pulled away, putting your owner hat on for a minute. So I never really got that chance to just put my head down and brew, and I do miss that aspect of home brewing. But I don't know, I talk to brewers all the time who come in and want to start their own brewery, and I say, "Do you like brewing?" "Yeah, I love brewing." "Don't start a brewery. Go brew somewhere. If you like excise tax and HR issues, start your own brewery, because that's what you're going to be consumed by."
You're saying that you like
and brewing bear little resemblance to each other.
So I was gonna say you like excise tax and HR stuff then is what you're
No,
saying.
I just had to learn to live with it.
Learn to deal with it. Yeah.
Actually, my partner right now is doing excise tax back at the pub.
Oh,
and
great.
Sales tax. Yeah.
So that makes me actually want to ask something. I didn't mean to cut you off, Rob. Or Ken. My apologies. So do you get those guys, we've talked about this before, who come in and tell you how to make your beer better, but they really don't know how to brew? Because I'll tell you, those kind of people make me madder than just about anybody.
Yeah.
It's like, y'all don't know how to run a business, but you're going to tell this guy how to make his beer?
I need
That
to
person
gif
is
his
ubiquitous
face.
on the earth.
The face he made when Dan said that, like his eyes lit up, his smile was there. He's like, "Oh, I've got so many people in my head.
Yeah.
Their names, their faces, their ideas."
And those people are born with Untapped already installed on their phone. They come out of the womb ready to just 1-star your lager. Yeah.
I almost spit out my beer. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna use that and never give you credit for it.
That's fine.
Born with Untapped on their
people for
phone.
memes right now.
Oh, that was good.
1 star, your beer sucks, and that's all they say.
Yep.
That's it.
No. It's 1 star. I don't like IPAs.
Yeah. You always see that. Nope, still don't like IPAs. 1 star.
Oh, jeez. Don't even drink it then.
This is the best lager I've ever had. 1.5 stars.
Oh my gosh.
It drives someone mad.
I can only imagine, and I'm sure you guys have, gone through and taken some of the reviews. We've talked to a few people, and I remember, and I won't say the name of the brewery out loud just because we like these guys, but they had their first really nasty Untapped review, and it got to them. It really hurt them, because they made the beer, they sold the beer, and it wasn't a 2 stars, I don't like IPAs. It was like a 1.5 stars on a beer that gets so many great reviews. What would you say to a brewery or a brewer that gets those types of reviews? How do you just shake it off?
I don't know, because I can't either.
Okay.
And I've done my best to build up a wall against that kind of stuff, but I make the mistake every night of scrolling through my phone right before I go to bed and right when I wake up, and you see that Yelp review and it just gets under your skin. And half the time it's bullshit. They came in ready to be pissed off, and you end up not worrying about it. You end up either ignoring it or jumping on there and defending your staff because they were wrongly persecuted. But it still hurts every time you see it. And I can talk myself into feeling better about it. But I don't know. I'm too much of an empath to be able to shrug them off. They get to me.
Well, it sounds like it's the business side in you that you're making sure that while you weren't there, that your business ran fine and there was no big issues and nothing that you're going to walk to in the next morning of, something crazy happening.
When you're a brewer, though, you're so exposed. You know, there's a whole room full of people drinking your beer, and essentially they come there to criticize it if they don't like it. Every craft beer person is always kind of weighing how it fits in with the other examples of that style that they like. So you're always sort of, your heart is out there all the time, and then to hear it come back in bad feedback, it hurts. Because a lot of brewing is pride. You know, you don't do it for the money. You don't do it for the glory.
I appreciate your honesty, and one of the things I want to ask is, do you think Untapped is helping or hurting the brewing industry?
I think if it wasn't that, it would be something else. I think the people who abuse that or who act the way they do on there would just find another outlet. I think I liked Beer Advocate. It felt like there were more, there were smarter beer people on Beer Advocate doing reviews than there were on Untapped. Untapped was kind of like, there are a lot of one beer check-in people, and it's always, that's why I always notice when I get a 1-star out, this person has 2 check-ins. They created this account just to trash my beer, which drives you bonkers. But yeah, I don't know. I think it is what it is. I think they would find another way to express their dissatisfaction if that wasn't there. I don't think it helps. I think if there's enough reviews over time, it helps you to see the potential of a brand. I guess if you're seeing more people checking in and sharing that beer, you can say, wow, this one seems to be striking a chord, especially in distribution. You don't always get to see the sales like you do in the pub. You can see, oh, we sold 500 pints of this beer this week. They're liking it. Untapped shows you a different story if you're distributing. Who's sharing beers, who's recommending them to people. So that aspect of it is more useful than the rating, I think.
I had another question and I can't think of it, so I'm gonna pass it off to one of you.
I got a fun question. Go ahead.
So I actually want to hear a little bit more about the charitable giving program.
Yeah.
I didn't, and all the stuff that I could find, there was really no name for it, so I don't know if that's the name.
It's Mitten Foundation.
Okay.
Yep. So we early on, charitable giving was going to be one of our main attributes of our company, even though we didn't know how we were going to do it, or even if we're going to have any money to be able to give away. But I'd worked in special needs classrooms while I was doing music and advocacy and respite and fundraising for families afflicted by developmental disability was always a big part of my life. And the first gift we made in our opening month was to the West Michigan Miracle League field, which was named after one of the students. I don't know if you can see my tattoo. It's an N and an 8.
Nice.
But it was for Nate Hurwitz, who was a student who I was his classroom aide. He ended up passing away right before the Mitten opened. He was in a wheelchair, had Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. And I always had a very special place in my heart. It was our first gift and kind of the cornerstone we built our whole charitable giving program around. And I think it's become as much a part of our company as anything else. As much as the beer and the pizza, it's beer, pizza, and giving. And we bet big on it. And it came about as a strategy to A, do the right thing, but B, stand apart. In a world in a county with this many breweries, it's hard to stand out. Our neighborhood set us apart a little bit, and our food and everything. But I wanted people to choose us because they thought we were good people and they liked what we were doing and they wanted to be a part of it. And we basically built the entire company around that. Last year, we raised and donated $75,000 to area nonprofits. And this year, even with COVID, we're going to beat that.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
I think it's ultimately why as many people choose us as they do, because they know their money is going to a good cause. We vet causes very well. We get invested in them. And I don't know, I feel like when you charge $5 or $6 for a beer, there's got to be more to it than just how good the beer is. You have to want to care about the people in the company and the work that they're doing. And I always keep that at the forefront of everything we do.
And actually, one question that I have that in terms of caring about the people that I saw that I think it was about last month that you guys had put an idea to create a Black Lives Matter shirt.
Yeah.
Featured some of the names of the people that we had lost in George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, among others. And I guess tell us what went into deciding to put that shirt out there, and the other like any other causes that you guys are doing in terms of going towards the effort to rid Black people of undue injustice?
Well, I think the best thing we have to offer any issue or any cause is our platform. We have almost 30,000 followers on social media. So we take that very seriously. And one thing I learned during COVID was that I didn't have any of the answers, for how to pilot a company through this. Nobody knows the answers. Everyone kept coming to Max and me, like, what do we do? So we sort of flipped it around and basically created a strategy from the bottom up. We had the staff design, the COVID procedures, the cleaning schedule. We wanted them to take ownership over the process since they were going to be the ones most at risk. And, they were as qualified as anyone else to do it. So the staff really got vocal and involved in everything during the last 3 months. And that's the best thing that happened since COVID, is that the staff just took way more ownership over the company and their jobs and their place in it. One example being one of our staff members sent me a message on Facebook with that Black Lives Matter shirt or design inside of the Mitten logo, and said, what do you think? And I said, that's amazing. Let's do this. And it was totally a staff idea. It wasn't even my idea. I felt stupid for not coming up with it in the first place, but COVID has been about, just taking the blows as they come. And so I'm glad that we had a culture where the staff felt comfortable bringing those ideas. And so we worked with the team member that came up with it. I talked to some Black leaders in Grand Rapids, and as we were figuring out the best thing to benefit with it, and I know that the first thought is often philanthropy, but the leaders I talked to said, you guys should be making investments in Black businesses, because what we're really talking about is economic inequality and lack of generational wealth is at the root of a lot of these problems. So we sold 400 of those shirts and raised almost $3,500 for an organization called Grand Rapids Area Black Businesses. And it totally changed the lens through which we view our work in 2020 and beyond. Right now, we're making a beer with juice from Alamai Juice Bar. It's a Black-owned juice bar. And we're going to donate that money to the NAACP to bring in some speakers for better law enforcement outcomes. And I'll be honest with you, our industry has a lot of catching up to do on this issue. And 88% of craft beer consumers and employees are white. And that's got to change if this industry is going to thrive and succeed in the future for a lot of reasons. We need different ideas. We need different input. We need a more diverse staff to come up with those ideas. And we need to find ways to change our companies around to get younger people to care about us, because I think the customers that got us here are not going to be the ones that get us there. A lot of the early craft customers are sort of fading out of the marketplace.
One of the things that I want to make sure I know, so you hold me accountable and you remind me, we have a cultural podcast called The Brews Brothers, which you can like on iTunes and subscribe to them. After you leave us a review on iTunes, please make sure you leave them a review too. But they've been working really, really hard with so many different breweries, including locally Eastern Market and Batch, in regards to the Black is Beautiful, as well as over in Dan's neck of the woods with Wren House, making a beer out there called Black is Excellence, or Black Excellence. Black
Excellence. Yep.
I was getting the two combined. But
we excellent as a motherfucker too, but just
but these are great community leaders who not only are community leaders, but are into craft beer, into the industry, and are looking to always not only promote Black people into liking beer and liking. It's like, it's not just for white people. We'll call it that.
It's not just for white people. That's the new line for 2020.
Better on draft. It's not just for white people.
Yep. Oh boy.
I feel like I need to make a beer after that. It's not just for white people ale.
And I think what keeps that in place is that similar to me bias, right? The hiring pool is customers, and the customers look like you because they've always looked like you, and the brewers look the way that they look, and you subconsciously make hiring decisions based on things you're familiar with, and that's got to change, because Gen Z and the generations that follow are the most ethnically diverse generations ever to walk the earth, and if they're going to get interested in craft beer needs to look different too.
And just a few
You have to
podcasts
put
ago,
people.
no, that's okay. Just a few podcasts ago, we had Fermenta on with Annette May, who have their Birdie Brown scholarship to help female people of color break into the industry. And as we mentioned on there too, I believe Batch Brewing is going to start doing CBS style classes to help people who are interested in getting into the industry on the front end, because we obviously a lot of people of color working in the back in the kitchen and not necessarily brewing. So they're going to start doing some projects, which we have mentioned, and I want to mention again. If you know someone or you are someone who wants to join those programs, including anything with Fermenta, reach out to us, betterondraft@gmail.com. We are going to set up our own little scholarship kind of thing to help you guys pay for getting classes, getting gas money to school if you need it, those kinds of things, because we want to make sure that you guys, we don't want any barriers that you think you have. We want to attempt to eliminate. Now, I can't watch your kids. If you have kids, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can.
I am not qualified for that. 100%.
Not a babysitter there, Ken?
No.
Qualified, but I got too many. So
I don't know how the people at my church when I was younger allowed me to babysit their kids. That was just a big mistake. None of them died yet, so
That's a high compliment.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a plus.
No hospital visits and nobody died. But as we kind of finish up before, because I'm going to let Dan have the last question because he's got a question for you that
it's a good question.
It's a very good question.
Go ahead.
I want to ask, where do you see Mitten Brewing in 2021, 2022? What is your goal for the next year post-COVID? How do you want to come out of this?
I think my goal is to exist, and I'm pretty confident at this point to say that we're going to come out of it and stronger in some ways, leaner in many other ways. But the one thing that COVID has provided for everybody is the chance to slow down and contemplate why you're doing this in the first place. And the pace of entrepreneurship, the last 7 years for us, just been about keeping up. How do we brew enough beer? Now all of a sudden we can't brew any beer because there's nowhere for it to go. And we have to start thinking about what makes our company special and what kind of company are we going to be coming out of this, and what are people going, there's going to be way fewer options for people. A lot of places are going to close, and the boom may be over. What are we going to do to earn people's business and respect? And I think what Mitten 2021 and 2022 looks like is just a more intentional version of what it already always has been. I think we're going to keep leaning into our causes that we support and building in our neighborhoods. And I think that's our reputation for good community work is why we're still alive, why we've outperformed a lot of our peers during COVID, and why we'll survive. And I think a lot of that has to do with your willingness to be vulnerable and take criticism and take ideas from your staff and being prepared to put them into action. And I've always been honest about the ways in which I suck, and when it's time to let somebody else drive, and knowing when to recognize that has served us well. So I would say it's that bit of humility that is going to keep us strong.
Well, Dan, you got to follow that one up.
Oh boy, so this is a little more fun. I was taking a look at your menu, and there's a hobby at least half of us on here rather enjoy and have for quite a while. Notice the name of a beer. How did you come up with the name Big Red Machine for your IPA?
So I believe it is the name of a championship Cincinnati Reds team.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. We just got derailed. I had no idea.
So of the man, the myth, who could wear a mask and eliminate
for 54 minutes. Yeah.
Let me check.
But yes, the Big Red Machine would be the Reds of the late 70s.
Yes, you're right.
Oh,
I knew
that's
it was.
terrible.
I wasn't sure which era it was, but
yeah.
So there's also a legendary wrestler named Kane, and his nickname's the Big Red Machine. So that caught my attention. I was like, oh, wait a minute, these guys are wrestling fans. That's kind of cool, but yeah, not quite as fun.
Well, accidental coincidence.
It doesn't go with the baseball theme.
Yeah,
That's
when in
actually
doubt,
a very good point.
it's probably a baseball themed beer.
In apparently, like according to these guys and how old I am, in my mid 50s, that was my favorite baseball team.
Hey, Rob, don't worry. I was in my late 50s too, so I probably was right there with you at the games.
Chris, so we know you guys are located in Northport, Saugatuck, and Grand Rapids. Are any of your breweries open to sit down right now?
Yes, all of them.
All of them.
Limited hours. We're open only for dinner, Monday through Wednesday, but we're open 7 days a week at all 3 locations.
Where are you pushing your hours? On your Facebook pages?
Yep. And you can go to mittenbrewing.com and see all the different hours for the different locations.
I believe your Instagram is.
Weekends we're open.
Oh, he phased out.
Oh no!
He might be
Oh,
there.
All right,
there
he's
we go.
back. So you cut out. You said weekends are. Let's try this one more time. Weekends are.
Noon till 9 p.m. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
There you go.
Nice.
Instagram, you guys are at Mitten Brewing Co. If somebody wants to help you out with donations, taking part in your charities, how do they get in touch with you?
mittenfoundation.com. All the contact information is actually a donate form on there. Right now, we're trying to build a universally accessible playground and playground floor surface at Richmond Park. And we're working with the city of Grand Rapids and Disability Advocates of Kent County and some other disability agencies to bring that rubber surface to the playground, raising $50,000 right now, and we're about halfway there. So there's information about that project. And we also underwrite all the mobile food pantries on the west side of Grand Rapids, which are especially important now because a lot of people who normally patronize these free mobile food pantries because of income issues. Well, a lot of seniors are now patronizing them because they don't feel safe going to the grocery store. So the need for hunger is always changing and it's always there. So we're doing 2 huge fundraisers right now, which is probably stupid to bite that off, but I love a good challenge and a good old building. So
well, what I'll do
check it
also is make sure in the show notes, Chris is going to send me in an email those links, so I make sure to share with all of you guys that information. I feel like there's definitely a part 2 of this interview. We're going to have another day to learn more about your philanthropy and go everything else. But I think that is going to do it for this interview. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. We're definitely going to have to go out to either Saugatuck, Northport, or Grand Rapids, or why not all 3?
Thank you, guys.
Go check it out. You guys are in distro too, right? Which beers are in distro that people can pick up across the state?
We usually have 3 or 4 brands in distro at any time, and we just got into Ann Arbor, which is the one area that we weren't really available in. So we got a pretty broad reach now.
Well,
so Country Strong IPA and Mango Gold are going to be ones you see distributed most widely.
I will have to check that out because I am in Ypsilanti.
And a Triple Crown Brown right now.
And Triple Crown Brown.
Yeah, I got to go grab that Triple Crown Brown for myself.
Yeah, for sure.
But guys, we will be back in about 10 minutes. So we will be right back with the Better on Draft podcast.
Young man, make a move now, you'll never get there. Well, you know I sold it, then I lost it, then I broke down and I bought it again. Never again. 'Cause taking my time, on this drive. Taking time, taking my time, taking my time. Yeah. Oh, taking my time. On this drive. Taking my time. On this
We are back. Episode 227, Better on Draft podcast.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Yes, please do.
No.
What
You're gonna ask
is
what we're all
Matt
thinking.
Bush wearing right now?
All
All right, so can I explain this, Ken, for those that are actually going to be downloading this? And
Yeah, so
listening while
you can watch us on
All right, so-
YouTube and Facebook. The
Okay,
videos
so
are
for-
there.
So those of not watching,
I don't know.
Matt has a tank top on with a cat and wearing sunglasses.
Aviators, baby.
He's drinking a juice box or something. Oh, drinking a drink. Looks like a juice box.
You're gonna drink.
Drink.
The straw.
Through a straw.
So usually,
someone wishes that they were at the beach right now.
It's perfect.
usually
Matt, what are you playing right now?
Yeah, what are you
I got some
playing?
men going on.
Ugh, God.
well,
Pick a better game.
usually with segment 2 is the news, but Matt Bush wanted to hop in for our game. So I'm going to turn it over to Wendy because Wendy created a game for us for this week's game.
All
I
right.
did. I was just in the process of opening my new beer, though.
What are you drinking? Let's
Sorry
kinda
if
go
I missed
over-
what we're drinking, but during the first segment, I had a Gorilla Juice delivery. So I am drinking the new Gorilla Juice.
Oh, that's going to upset some people there, Wendy.
I know.
We're going to have to make sure we add that on Facebook.
Drama.
Yeah,
We're going to have to do the
I'll-
drama llama next.
You know, I 100% understand what Adam had to do, and he did it, and that's
Oh,
it.
jeez.
Like, I don't know if you guys are aware, but one of the big things is that Ascension came out with Gorilla Juice,
Hey,
and they,
I'm sorry, Ken. Turn the video on.
the video is not on the train. There we go. That was probably a good thing with the cat
There we
there.
Okay.
Oh,
Go
come
ahead.
on. Jaeger's better.
So
It's coming now, Tito. Hold
for
on.
those of you who were unaware of Ascension, they had their release for Gorilla Juice yesterday, which was an online order release. They had an allotment for members. It was not enough, so they took the allotment from the public and gave it to their members, and people got upset. Yeah, they can just deal with it because that's the benefits of having a membership to a brewery. That's why, breweries like Witch's Hat, who we'll be having in a few weeks, has had a membership for all their Fury releases, and Drafting Table, and Kuhn never had memberships, so they had releases. But, that's just how it works. So Wendy's drinking Gorilla Juice. Matt, what are you drinking? The Claw?
I have a Bon V.
Bon
Good
Vive.
choice.
I haven't tried these yet. This is the first time, and they suck butt. This is probably my least favorite.
Matt, you
This
joined a
happened.
second time?
Hold on.
Are we getting hacked? Oh.
It felt like it.
Was this
We
going
getting
to turn into the movie Unfriended?
Ooh, that is a good movie for sure. So Matt's
Oh,
drinking
man.
Bon Vive. He is it's a seltzer.
These are
Unfriended
just
is a
very butt.
a teenage
All the
horror
videos
flick.
got messed up, Ken.
Yep, I got it all. I'm working on it. And Dan, what are you drinking?
I switched over to a Bottle Logic study break. So to compare this, if mint condition is like mint chocolate chip ice cream in a glass, this is a Snickers bar in a glass.
God damn
Is
it.
what you got
man.
here. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I got
Now you got to get another one.
I got a contact out there. We've basically been trading And I've been just picking up and shipping him Shrams, and he's been sending me bottle logic. I got to get in touch with him again anyway, because I wanted to get that Ghost Proton among some other things.
That's another really good one. I drank that last week. That's one of the best ones they put out.
So speaking of Bottle Logic, I'm going to crack open one that I did get from him. Is Stealth Mode.
Nice.
A tart ale that's brewed with blueberries. So
it reminds me of like me trying to hit on girls during AIM with a different screen name. Stealth Mode.
Oh my God.
What year is it?
2002, Dan.
2001.
I was close.
An inner space odyssey.
Matt was still using AOL keyword Tinder.
Oh, come on.
Did you ever use ICQ?
Oh, of course. Oh,
ASLs, baby. All about the ASLs.
Wow.
Nick, before it gets derailed, what are you drinking?
Still working on that Obolon, that Ukrainian beer, and then I just cracked open another one from the basement. A Keep Calm Chai Ban Gold Lager from Resignation Brewery.
Okay.
Where do you even find these beers, Nick?
In his basement.
In my basement.
It's been there a little while.
Yeah, a little. You don't even want to know the brew date.
We don't.
You don't want to know the
I'm
brew
going to guess
date.
like 2012, 2013.
Oh, no, it's a little bit older than that. Or younger than that.
It's very good with Mother Russia. It's all about the love of the Putins.
That's this one.
Yeah.
So Wendy is doing this week's game. I will keep track of score for you, so you don't have to worry about that. But Wendy, take it away with the rules, regulations, and those of you who are in the chat, feel free to play along.
Okay, so I didn't really come up with any rules, but I do have. I did some research on beer names. So the name I'm going to read you is either a real beer, or it's a beer from a comic book, a television show, a film, or a video game. Okay. So your job is to tell me if it's real or not.
All right.
So, and I did do the research to find out if somebody else has named it that beer since it's been on that show or book or whatever. So, I guess we could go in order.
In order for you, let's do it.
In order for me. So that starts with Nick.
Yes.
Nick
drew the short straw, right?
Matt, you're about to get cut.
Man, I was gonna say, I don't know if you know who owns this Zoom, but it ain't me.
It's me, dude. I got the power. Oh, here we go. Remove.
Yeah, there we go. This goes beyond.
I'll put your ass in the waiting room and make you sit there. It's like purgatory.
Don't be sure with me.
All right, Nick.
Where's the fucking?
So anyway, the beer name is Hauling Oats.
Anyway.
Well, I'm sorry.
Hauling Oats.
Hauling Oats. And what are my choices again?
Is it real or not?
Real or is
real
it
or fake?
Fiction?
I'm gonna say that's real.
That is real.
Okay.
It is from Tenaya Creek in Nevada. It's an oatmeal stout, by the way.
All right.
Hauling Oats. I'm in.
You make my dreams come true.
Right? So, Matt, your beer
my
name is
playlist.
Mommy Beerist.
That seems milfy, so I'm gonna guess fake.
Incorrect. Mudhound Brewing in Virginia called their cream ale Mommy Beerist.
No,
I actually added that one in because I love the name.
That's a little incestuous.
Dan?
Yeah.
Dan, you're
Sam
up.
Adams Bargain Stout.
One more time.
Sam Adams Bargain Stout.
Bargain Stout. Jesus. I'm gonna say that's fake.
It is. It's from Mad Magazine.
What would that even be?
I would have been on that because she said Sam Adams.
Well, I would hope it was a stout. Apparently, Mad Magazine had a whole series of Sam Adams beer names.
Oh my gosh.
Rob, Rhubarbra Strawsand. I love it.
I'm gonna say it's real.
It is. Brew Detroit put out a wit beer called Rhubarbra Strawsand.
And
Wow.
local.
So this one, I'm gonna say the name that I found online. It was Pathological Lager. Ken, that's you.
Oh, that's me. Okay. I think that's a real beer.
There is a couple of beers named Pathological Lager, and unfortunately, I didn't save the brewery name in there, which is probably good because the actual name is Friends Don't Let Friends Vote Drunk Pathological Lager.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my
And it is not a lager, oddly enough.
Don't
It is
be a
not a
man while
lager,
drinking
it
your
is a-
juice in the hood.
Yeah, it is
Lager.
a farmhouse ale. Oh, it's Stock Street Brewing. I did have it in there. I don't have my glasses on.
All right, so right now, me, Rob, and Nick get a yes. Dan and Matt get a no.
Wait, I was right on mine.
Matt,
What?
yeah, I thought.
Yeah, I
that-
think I was the only incorrect person.
Matt was the only one incorrect. Dan, I just
Maybe
wanted to
it's the
give you.
tank top.
I just wanted to give you a handicap. All right.
Ooh.
So, Nick, we're back to you.
Okay.
Bendery English Ale. It's Bendeery.
That sounds real, so let's go with real.
That one is fake. It actually was on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the TV show.
I haven't gotten that far in the Marvel series.
I didn't even know it was a TV show, so but I figured you guys might.
I couldn't get into any of the non-Netflix Marvel shows.
Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., yeah, it was rough.
Yeah,
Was it? Okay.
I like the Netflix one. So what was that?
It's because they can swear.
Daredevil, Punisher, Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones. And
I'm still in, my wife and I were still in the movies right now.
Yeah, you forgot Iron Fist. Yeah.
Iron Fist.
What was great about Iron Fist, because I don't think Punisher was in that series or set that I recall. Like I don't think.
Yeah, he was.
Punisher was the villain technically in season one of the.
Punisher was great. The Thomas Jane version from like 2000
Oh my
No.
where he like fucks up Kevin Nash.
No,
That was a
this
good Punisher.
this version of Punisher was amazing.
Bernthal has been the best Punisher since Dolph Lundgren. Shut up.
Thomas Jane. And he was fucking
So, Matt,
Roger Maris in
Matt.
61.
Yeah, but
Matt,
James,
you're up.
Got it.
you're up. Sit your ass down.
I feel
That's
like
a
you
good
skipped people to do that.
Literally.
Can I get a name of origin? Is
What?
it
Citra, Citra, ass down.
That's got to be a real beer, or I'm not.
It is against the grain.
yes. I think I have a can downstairs.
Dan Mac 50.
Mac 50.
It's the first.
That sounds like
it's the first
something-
50-ounce beer.
Not an E40.
That sounds like a malt liquor,
Jeez.
like right up your alley, Dan.
That's got to be real.
It is not. It's from the movie
Wow.
Idiocracy.
Damn. You're that Mac 50 over there.
Mac 10's great grandson.
Rob, Yellow Snow IPA.
That is real.
Rob's like, I had one
Do
of
you know who
those.
does it?
I cannot remember who does it, but I remember seeing it before, like when I was down in Kentucky and going to the Party Source.
It is a Pilsner from Rogue Ales.
Rogue, okay.
You know, we interviewed the former owner and CEO who just retired last year, John Mayer, a long time ago on Better on Draft. Go check out
Is
that
this
episode.
Body of Wonderland, by the way?
Yes.
Shut up, Matt Bush.
Pretty sure you were on that episode.
And Ken O'Glum's non-alcoholic beer.
Oh Jesus.
So I feel like that could be O'Glum's since it's non-alcoholic, or O'Glum's.
I am gonna go with fake. It is a.
It is
beer.
fake. It's from The Simpsons.
I had zero, like zero. So it's me and Rob with 2. Everybody else with 1. Let's go through one more round. You got enough for one more round?
I do. Nick Polygamy Porter.
I just want a beer to be called the Nick Polygamy Porter.
Well, it's Polygamy Porter, not the Nick.
Nick's many wives love this beer.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to say that's true.
One of
It
my
is
favorite
true.
beers.
It is
One of my
Wasatch
favorite
Brewing
porters.
from Utah. Which
Wait,
I'm
what?
pretty sure they could
It's
only
from
get away with
Utah,
that
go
in
figure.
Utah.
Wait, it's in
Polygamy beer. Or polygamy porter is what it's called.
polygamy
Obviously, it's
porter in the state of Utah.
I'll
The
send you
state of
some,
Utah.
Nick. It's really good.
I feel like we've talked about
Alright.
that beer.
That's
on
what
this
she
show.
said.
I've drank it on the show since we've been back like this.
Matt,
Oh my-
girly girl beer.
You say girly girl?
Girly girl beer.
Can you spell the first girly?
Girlie.
It's not Todd Gurley. So
Go figure, because he's playing Madden 21 right now.
I'm gonna go girly girl is fake beer.
That is true. While
Yes!
there are variations of the name, like girly beer from Front Porch, it is from Married with Children.
I'm trying to find pictures of these. I just want to
I
see what
love-
the labeling looks like.
Yeah, you'll have to send me the results so that we can post it in the show notes. Who's up
Dan,
next? Dan.
the Great Big Kentucky Sausage Fest.
Oh Jesus Christ! That's too ridiculous to be fake. That's got to be real.
It is real. It's
Holy-
actually a collaboration with Against the Grain, and I have no idea how to say this name. It's Amager Brighouse from Denmark.
That's racist.
It's an imperial brown ale. I would try it. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it's a brown ale. You already sold me.
Right.
I found a picture of the girly girl beer from Married with Children, by the way.
Okay.
Is it a
Just
shoe
saying.
salesman beer?
No.
Geriatric Hipster Club.
Oh,
Geriatric Hipster Club.
Hipster Club.
how aged is that?
It's a dark ale, if that helps.
Geriatric. So it's the Bernie Sanders beer.
The Bernie Sandals.
Right?
You have to wear socks and sandals to drink that beer.
You can market the hell out of that. All right. So
Geriatric hipster.
game theory would mean that, like, basically the first two I got were real, but so by game theory that would mean that this was fake. But we're probably close to opposite day. So I'm going to say this is real.
It is real. The brewery actually
Nice.
did this one.
Did you say Israel? Is this anti-Semitic?
The
Oh my
brewery.
god, Matt.
What?
Matt, you're trying too hard today.
What was
Oh man.
Can you stop with trying to pull like a Nick Cannon on me and shit? Just chill.
Hey, Mariah wouldn't lie on me.
Hey, I ain't gonna
And
do
Ken, I'm gonna go with Spunk beer.
Oh boy, Jesus.
Rob almost just threw up in his
That's what she
glass.
said.
I feel like this is beer that you can. Here's my theory. You ready? You ready? This beer was created because of American Pie. So it's not a fake beer because American Pie didn't have a beer named it, but because of American Pie, somebody made it. So I'm gonna say it's real.
This is a Russian beer.
While there are many variations, such as Spunk Rock, spelled Rawk, and Santa's Spunk, it is actually a beer from Tank Girl, which is a comic.
Yes.
Tank Girl.
Oh, for Tank
Santa's
Girl.
spunk.
Tank
That's-
Girl.
that's what
Santa's
we're actually-
Spunk.
It doesn't make it any better.
I honestly,
You know what? You've got spunk.
so we all lost. Rob won with 3. The rest of us had 2. So to give ourselves a second place, I am going to bow out, but I'm going to give Wendy the opportunity. I'm going to ask her a question, or actually, no, we're going to do it the way we did a tiebreaker last time. So just in order that I have right here, the question is, in what year did the Brooklyn Bridge open? So to break the tie, I am just going to forfeit. So it's between Nick, Dan, and Matt. In what year did the Brooklyn Bridge open? Nick.
1924.
Nick says 24. Dan.
Oh, we're not going higher or lower?
Nope, because this is
Shit.
just the closest. Yes, you can go over.
Let's say 1890.
That's where I was at. I was actually a little earlier. I was thinking like 1878.
Well, Matt or Rob, you already won, so shut the fuck up. Your vote doesn't matter. You could be 100 years off, and I don't care.
Oh, yeah.
But wasn't Rob there?
Oh.
All right. So what are my options?
Your options are to guess a year of what the Brooklyn Bridge was open.
So Nick said 1920.
24.
Okay, that's stupid. Rob said 1890, right?
Rob's number doesn't count.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dan said 1890.
Sure.
Yep.
I'm gonna go 1889.
Good job, Rob. I'm pretty
Well-
sure you gave it to him.
Matt Bush a second place for that one.
Oh! What's the number?
The correct year is 1883.
I win.
That's on me. I thought it was just you two. I was not.
No,
you
I was
you
gonna guess
didn't win.
1881.
So you didn't win, Rob.
No, you got second place. And as Theo from the Road Rules always says, second place is the first loser.
Theo from Road Rules? How long ago was that?
Yeah, what a name to pull out.
Was that early 2000s?
Oh my god, I love it.
What about Mark from Road Rules? I remember Mark with his hair.
And I love that show.
So, guys, we're going to actually move segment 2 to segment 3. So go refill your beers. Matt, thank you so much for joining us for the game. We will let you get back to your Todd Gurley fandom over on Madden 21.
Back to
And-
the game now.
And
He's
we'll
playing
be
as
right
Matthew
back.
Stafford. Let's not sugarcoat it.
We'll be right back with the Better on Draft podcast.
Yeah.
All alone, it was a fever in my bones. Yeah, I was standing with the matchbook in my hand. Up in smoke, yeah, I was ashes on the floor. And it's so typical of you to let me burn. Let me burn. Let me burn. Oh, just like a wildfire. Just like a wildfire. Die for second chances, yeah. Tasting cigarettes and nights meets the light is in your eyes. Falling hard for something dangerous, so dreams of fighting pyro scenes. Just let me burn. Just let me burn. Just let me burn. Oh, just like a wildfire. Just like a wildfire. Yeah, just like a wildfire. We were burning hot like cedar. We were moving so high. Oh, it was sweeter. The take in mind. Yeah, just like a all alone, it was a fever in my bones, and it's so typical of you to let me burn.
We are back, Better on Draft podcast, episode 227. We are live. Matt Bush disappeared. I'm assuming the Lions lost as per usual. whether it's Madden or
Were they playing?
no, he was playing PlayStation Madden. So
Ah,
I don't know.
Did you not hear the reaction like 30 seconds ago?
Yeah, you wouldn't have caught it on you would have caught it on the live, but not the post live for sure. But we're back. I'm almost done with my beer for sure. I've
Got
been
that
working
picture
through.
wrapped up? What's going on?
Here's the
Yeah?
results. We got
Nice.
that here, and obviously my glass full. Keep topping it off like a good boy. Anybody drinking anything new before we get into the news?
I'm actually going to hold off until we start the news because that's the first thing that I'm going to bring up in the news is going to be the first beer that I'm going to open.
Well, as
right.
I say,
Here is Robert with the beer news.
so for those of you watching the video, absolutely nobody could hear the sound. So that's just me making sure they know the sound's going. So Rob, the news.
All right, the news. So there was a bit of, I guess you could say, confusion that happened out in the land of West Hartford, Connecticut this week as a customer at World of Beer was served a bottle of Yellow Belly. I know probably for some of you guys that you know what Yellow Belly is and you know what everything looks like when you get a bottle of Yellow Belly. But obviously with this particular customer that he did not know what he was getting. So definitely keep that in mind. So as it was told by the individual's wife, the man asked for a suggestion for a beer while he was in World of Beer. And the server had suggested Yellow Belly, which, you know, to give you a little bit of context of what the beer is that it is a peanut butter and biscuit Imperial Stout. However, it is not made with any peanut butter or biscuit at all. Clearly, it's like with that suggestion, the guy definitely thought that beer sounded pretty good, and he said okay. And the server apparently had just showed up with the bottle and put that on the table. And I guess for those that are watching, I will put this up here. I will also describe this for those who will probably listen. But essentially, when you got the bottle on the table, the bottle looks like this. Now, it says Yellow Belly on here. I will explain the ceased and desisted version of the version in a minute. But basically, this is what shows up on the table. Now, for somebody who is not aware of what the beer is and the message that the beer gives, when that shows up on the table, I can understand that you can have a definite feeling of, you know, hurtfulness and, you know, a certain amount of, you know, being despicable, of disrespectful of what this show when this shows up. But it does have a story behind it. And the thing is that the people who got the beer, they did look up the story behind it and understand that the reason this is done this way and is called Yellow Belly is that it is to provide people with, you know, that this is a person who is without courage, fortitude, or nerve, in essence, a coward, which is actually in the writing on the label that's on here. And that this is something that is to bring awareness to people to that this image is someone who is the image of someone who, in old terms, a yellow belly is a coward. However, despite looking at that information and understanding that information, they still reached out to World of Beer and were looking for an apology for this beer being served, because the server didn't explain anything in terms of the beer. They just put it right on the table and didn't provide any context to the consumer at all. And for somebody who is not aware of Omnipollo and them making this beer, because they've been making this since 2014, that it can definitely, with the imagery that comes with the bottle, that, it can bring out a certain level of hurtfulness, which, I understand. But, there's a lot of things that came out with this. And like I said, there's been the request for an apology. As for what I've seen, World of Beer has not come out with an apology, and in fact, they have moved forth to make sure that all of the bottles of Yellow Belly that are in any of their locations are removed from their locations. Now, the Hendrik Fenty, the brewer, one of the main brewers at the Omnipollo, he obviously has seen all of this that has happened, and he has come out with a statement that is saying that he stands behind the design of the bottle and stating, quote, "We want to use our craft to talk about the things that matter to us. As a Black-owned and operated brewery, in the case of Yellow Belly, it was brewed to show a deep concern over racism in Europe, the United States, and beyond. A question that has run through the DNA of our company since its founding 10 years ago." Now, like I said, World of Beer has announced that they are removing this from all of their locations. And I would probably say that for myself personally, the only thing that I find offensive is that, according to the wife who put this post out on Facebook, is that they were paying $40 for this bottle, which...
Her name Karen? Was her name Karen, by the way?
Matt, shut up. Now, $40 for this bottle is ridiculous, considering you can get this in a store for not even 15. So that's like complete World of Beer convenience. But I guess what I'm thinking is that, you know, does World of Beer owe any type of apology? And, you know, I guess one other thing that I need to bring up is that, as you see on here, it's the cease and desisted batch. As it shows right there, it's the final batch because they were in a dispute with another brewery that was in Europe that was making a Yellow Belly Gold, which they lost that dispute, and now this is actually the last time that they're going to make this beer under the Yellow Belly name. So the beer is still, as far as I know, is still going to be out there, but they are not
Different
going
name.
the Yellow Belly name anymore. But
I'm gonna be honest. I as much as I don't want to give the benefit of the doubt, but if you're given the opportunity to sell a $40 bottle of beer, no questions asked, because he said, "Give me what you suggest," and I suggest a $40 beer, and you say okay. I don't care if that's fucking a 40 of Miller High Life. Like, I think he's going for tip.
So straight up, I've had that exact thing happen. Not 40, but it was 25 for a glass of beer. For a pint of beer somewhere local to here, it was a very good barrel-aged beer and not worth the money. But I did also ask them to give me what they suggested. So I absolutely agree with you. So as far as the apology, I think we're getting a little too sensitive here. The story of the beer is on the bottle. If you look this up, you'll also see the story. The brewer told you what this is all about, and you're still demanding an apology because someone gave you this beer. Where are we at right now in society that you're demanding that?
I agree with you, as I'm trying to like do the right pointing on the video. I agree with you, Dan. But this is also a fail on World of Beer for not training that employee to know what beer they're selling.
Exactly, and I'm gonna jump in because I'm gonna give you my reaction first on the beer. I'll be honest, I've never tried it because of the packaging, but I never took the time to read the packaging and see what was going on. And I'm definitely versed enough in beer to know that what is thrown out there up front is not always what it seems to be. So that's on me. The apology thing, maybe, yes, I think World of Beer might owe an apology because they didn't take the time to explain, this is why I am suggesting this beer. Or, hey, this beer might be different from what you expected. Here is why that it is this way.
But I think
and if I'm going to a place like World of Beer, I expect their servers to be knowledgeable enough to explain to me information about the beer.
But you know what? As a bartender, You usually ask somebody when someone says, "Bring me a beer." You usually ask them, "Do you like hobby beers? Do you like stouts? What are your flavor profiles that you like?" So I mean, while we have only a news brief, I would imagine the bartender asked the questions because I mean, as a bartender myself, I would say, "What kind of beer do you like?" And I would then find them a beer that they kind of like, as opposed to bring me something and then just
So I
That
agree with that, but the best beer bars that I have ever been to, they give me background on the beer, not just this is a beer I think you'll like.
But
Well, no, my thought
hold
is-
on, Matt. Hold on, Matt. Are you talking beer bars or beer chains? Because
Beer
I'm thinking
bars.
like I'm thinking of
But
'cause
World
I'm
of Beer,
brewery.
yes, it's a beer bar, but it is also a place that you go and expect to get information about the beer you go to.
And
The
honestly, I
beer
mean,
you're
if
drinking.
a bottle shows up like this, there should be some sort of
Some type of
explanation that is being given. Because if you're giving the suggestion of the beer that it should start with, either start with when that person says yes, that's when I'll take it, or when that server shows back up with the beer to say, all right, I need to explain this bottle because this is
right.
very clear with some of the imagery that is on here that can definitely be taken, especially for Black people that are around here, that we will take this a very certain way. Obviously with the yellow belly that's on here, when I look at this, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, coward. I get it. I understand like the old lingo. But
is there information on the back that talks about why they have that?
Yes, the actual explanation is right here, right on the back, that gives the statement, and to which Hendrik Fenty Henrock, sorry, that he quoted what the label is on the bottle or on the packaging here to explain that, and that was what was there, and they had seen that was what was there, but there's still the fact that this server just showed up with the bottle and just, I'm guessing it was like one of those busy nights. They're like, all right, here's your beer, and it walked off. And,
So really there's two people at fault. It's the server that didn't explain why they were giving you this beer or anything about the beer, knowing that it's probably going to be a little bit of a shock factor, like to anybody that gets that beer. And the person who didn't bother to read the label to find out why it's presented that way. So
and I think they read the label, because from the Facebook post that I saw, that they still read the label, but they still wanted an apology. And I think that most of the apology that they wanted was the simple fact that this bottle showed up on the table with no explanation whatsoever, and it gave off this connotation that this person is essentially giving me a KKK beer.
And that's honestly what I believe that what World of Beer should apologize for, is giving them that without any type of explanation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that them removing all of the bottles from all of their locations presents a good message at all.
No, I
So,
think
hold on, though.
they also. I'll go to you right after Dan. I promise.
Okay.
I think the problem is that maybe it also the person who saw it, whether it's the man or the wife or whatever, like when you get that, and mind you, I can't understand how someone would feel being Black and getting that bottle with no context. How do you respond to that? How do you so I can't say, but speaking in context of how I would feel or how I would think I'd feel or how I'd be like, what, why, where, like I would start asking the W5s, like, why am I getting this beer? Where am I, like these types of things. So I would just start questioning a lot of things before I would throw an Instagram post out there or my girlfriend or wife or whatever the relationship was. Dan.
So I don't know how the people are trained at this place, but are we really expecting someone who's working for a couple of dollars in tips to give an in-depth explanation about any beer they put on the table, especially if it's a busy night?
Now, in regards to local smaller chains, No, you know what? Let's even go further because I can speak on Brass Taps, which is about at the same level of World of Beer. Brass Taps goes through a huge training for you to even be able to start selling anything. You have to go through. You don't have to go through CBS like you do 8 Degrees Detroit. Like to sell at 8 Degrees Detroit, you have to have your CBS. But at Brass Taps, like they have a full training program for you. So I can only assume, based on the industry itself and based on World of Beer, that there is a training program. And again, not to circle back to my first point, but I just feel like he was just trying to sell a $40 bottle of beer to make an $8 tip.
Right.
I don't honestly, because of everything that's on the bottle, everything that's on the label, and things that are going on right now. Like I don't think this person was trying to sell a KKK bottle to a black man. I think he was trying to sell his top dollar bottle to someone who said they would buy the top dollar bottle.
And that's pricey for that bottle.
We could talk about fucking restaurant excise tax in regards to how much they charge for the bottle. Dan, you shook your head. I feel like you don't agree, or
no, I do agree. I wasn't shaking my head. No, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think taking aside the beer, the Yellow Belly, Yellow Bella, whatever it's called, Yellow Belly,
Yellow Belly Gold, the other one.
Yep. I 100 I am very, very confident that it is just someone who came in. Like I've gone to breweries, just as Dan said, as I'm sure we all have. We've gone to a bar, gone to a brewery, and we said we want your number one cocktail, or we want your number one beer, or we want your best beer. And if you came to me and said, what is it, peanut butter and chocolate or whatever? Peanut butter and biscuit? And I'm like, fuck yeah, peanut butter and biscuit. It's $40. Fuck yeah. Like those are the kinds of conversations. Now, mind you, he might not even said $40. He just said, yeah, we got this peanut butter biscuit beer. Yes. You've agreed to a $40 bottle without knowing it. So yep. I feel like the most amount of shadiness in this transaction was either the bartender trying to sell a $40 bottle of beer without saying it was a $40 bottle of beer, or it. Matt, you were shaking your head. I want to make sure you're.
Yeah, no, honestly, you know what it is? It's kind of what your point. It's kind of hard to figure out where the problem is because I don't know the race of the consumer he was black.
He was
okay.
Black.
So, maybe I can't speak to the other community because this is if you put a hooded bottle in front of me, I wouldn't think too much of it, but I'm sure that's a white kind of thing. So my thought is
it's a problem then.
It is. Well,
I'd be like, what Mississippi brewery is this from?
I think personally.
Hold on. I think what Matt's trying to say is that it's not the first thing that would come to his mind.
And again, that's why I asked Rob, or just I see things differently than the rest of humanity. So I don't know. To me, I would look at the label and read it and try to get an answer from it, as opposed to having a negative reaction to it. But that's neither here nor there. That's one thing. My thought is, kind of to Cadden's point, I would have drank the beer. My thought is the purchaser said, "Hey, I'll take your recommendation." And then the bartender said, "What kind of beer do you like?" The purchaser said, "I like these kind of beers." And then the Yellow Belly was given to the bartender or to the consumer, kind of at Ken's point, to make the tip. And my thought is the person who consumed the beer probably said, "Holy shit, I just paid $40 for a beer. I'm going to start a fuss because this is fucking stupid to spend $40 for a $20 beer." So, regardless of race, religion, creed, whatever, there's no way I would ever pay $40 for 12 ounces of beer.
And rather than
I started a small fire in a restroom somewhere.
and rather than posting something on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, why didn't they just ask them, "Why did you give me this beer?"
Well, and they probably did, but the thing is that to a black consumer, that imagery is going to be paramount over everything else. I mean, considering everything that has happened to Black people over the last 300-400 years, that when you look at a bottle that is going to look like somebody in a KKK hood, that's the first thing I'm going to see. I will probably hover down to that yellow belly part. I'm probably go to that label, but the first thing I'm going to see is going to be that hood. And that is the first thing that is going to trouble me the most. And I understand where this customer is coming from, because without the context, without any of the information, without knowing that this is a Black-owned brewery, without knowing the history of that Black person who has been through, racism and being bullied, that history is not there. It's only this bottle that is in front of my face, and all I see right now is that hood. And that shit is going to bother me if I am completely new craft beer and I see that I have a problem with that. And if a server can't give me the context of what that is and just sets that on the table, I'm going to be fucking furious.
Can I ask you a question though? In all honesty, like in the layers that you just played, and I don't want to be flippant, but if you go to a Black-owned brewery as an African American yourself, with a few Black-owned breweries, don't you know that you're going to a Black-owned brewery? And B, I don't forgive the server if they were just so ignorant to do that. But I feel like there's context that's like, I feel like this is a cable news story. Like, white person gives KKK bottle to Black customer, where I feel like there's a lot more left. And I feel like, if you're a Black beer drinker and you know that you're at a Black brewery, I think you should know that. And I think that, Rob, I think you might agree with that. Like, because we've talked about talking about counting allies at,
yes.
Like, if you're an African American and you go to an establishment,
you're black. Get that right.
I'm trying to be PC here.
Well,
Mr. Kong.
How many people prior to this whole Yellow Belly thing knew that Omnipollo was Black-owned?
I didn't. No idea. Robin showed me the bottle. I had no context of the bottle.
But that's the thing is it's not the bottle. It's the fact that not a lot of white people are aware of what Black-owned breweries are, who they are, where they are. You especially, and let's just be honest, in living in our own American world, is that it is a European brewery, and therefore you just assume European, and you don't think Black. It's it's just not something that crosses your mind as a white person, and that could be just me, and it could be other people. That's perfectly fine. I'm speaking just for me, Ken Konashevsky of Better on Draft Podcast, which you can find us betterondraft.com, Better on Draft on Instagram, Better on Draft on Twitter, and
you've very obviously never been to France.
I haven't. No,
England.
I was
or
supposed
England
to
for
go
that
to
matter.
I was supposed to go to fucking Europe in 2020, and
yeah, I'd just be getting back from Italy. You want to talk about ruined trips? Let's go.
Yeah, I was supposed to be
vacations.
I was supposed to be in Europe this year, but COVID fucking hit, and I bought a house, and all these things just happened. But you know what? I will probably take and as I was telling my girlfriend way before, that I plan on going to Europe by myself. I think we're gonna meet in Scotland. I think she's gonna fly out to Scotland and maybe do Scotland and Ireland and the whole that area with me. But again, I don't know these things, and I think people don't know these things unless they research. And I think, Rob, you have a reason to research for simply because, as you do at beer festivals, you look for your allies, you look for the people to support in your community in beer. I didn't know it, and it kind of understands my own biases. I realize what I don't know. And as Matt does not understand the whole game. But yeah, I still believe, like, I agree with, I think we're all on the same page, that I think that the bartender was looking for a high tip. Bartender saw an opportunity to sell a $40 bottle of beer to someone who was willing to pay $40 for a bottle of beer. Because nothing in this article talks about a $40 bottle of beer except just for the price itself. Not that it was over or under, that it was just a $40 bottle of beer.
I mean, if that shit was like a bomber of a barley wine, I'd say for that. But Jesus, that's a lot for a 12 ounce.
That's a whole lot for a 12 ounce.
Hold on.
I do have a question.
Speaking, though.
What was that?
I do have a question.
All right,
Sorry,
go ahead.
Sorry, Wendy.
Go ahead, Matt.
I mean, is it real? If there's a limited supply, who hasn't spent $40 on a beer?
The thing is
I'm looking at you.
From my perspective, and having, being spoiled with holiday market. Shout out to Ashley. With them having 4 cases of this stuff sitting on the floor, it's not limited here. That's for damn sure.
But maybe, what if it was I guess I don't want to sit here and apologize for a white kind of apologetic beer, but like, what if it was a beer that's never in that market? What if it's something that's hard to get?
Then,
I almost kind of feel dirty even like playing what if games.
That's perfectly fine. But I think the thing that bothers me is that with the imagery of the bottle, for somebody that is recommending this type of beer, and I kind of feel like recommending this beer to someone that
Matt, thank you.
They don't have, even if they do have the idea of what they're getting, that it needs to start with an explanation of what's showing up on the table. If it's just the bottle itself without the wrapping, then that is something where somebody can look at that. But with the wrapping that's being on the bottle, that I feel needs to have some sort of explanation to say, all right, I recommended this beer, but I need to tell you about this. Like, even when they go to the bar to get the bottle, that should be a reminder to basically say, holy shit, I need to tell this person what this bottle represents, everything about this brewery and this bottle, what it represents, so that it doesn't come off as any type of offense. And
well, I see the issue as poor training here more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
like this is poor.
We don't know. But that's the thing, we don't know.
It might not be that they weren't trained badly, though.
It could have just been a busy night. It could have been that the server was out there and just like, well, shit, I need to get these beers over to this table, put the beers on the table, and went to the next table that need to get their orders in. We don't know if it's an issue with training.
I 100%, just because World of Beer is a national chain, and when you deal with national chains, there is a lot of training programs in there that are just not throw you on the floor. If you go work for a fucking Applebee's, you're not getting on the floor the first night. Like there are a lot of things that happens at these restaurants. Like if you go look at the movie Waiting with fucking Dane Cook and Ryan Reynolds and Justin Long.
Hey, don't you say that's my favorite movie. Don't you dare. You tread lightly, sir.
I'm using it as there's a whole training program for these types of large chain restaurants.
And there's a penis showing game with all of them.
We're gonna continue.
See what now?
There's a penis.
It's about the movie.
If you don't watch the movie, like, you're not a human. I'm sorry, you've never worked in the service industry.
So that's the thing, is that I think World of Beer has it. I just think it's one of those things to where we've talked about minimum wage, and we talked about minimum wage in the industry, and you're literally paying someone $3 an hour, and if I'm going to guarantee you an $8 tip on this 12-ounce beer, even if you get 15%, $6, like these are the kinds of things that come to my mind first when it comes to that. I feel there was poor, now mind you, so they have basic training, but when it comes to these specific beers, you're not going to know every beer. you should, and a lot of these places make you know these beers. Like, you're supposed to try them. You're supposed to look at the tasting profiles. When a new beer gets tapped, you're supposed to go to that pre-shift meeting where you're going to try that beer so you know how to sell that beer. Now, you can't necessarily crack open a beer like a bottle of Yellow Belly to understand the tasty notes, but again, if I'm a 23-year-old kid and I'm looking to make tips that night, like, again, that's the thing, is I'm just gonna sell everything high level the second you give me the opportunity to.
So, quick question though, I guess just gotta go around real quick, yes or no. Should World of Beer pull all of these bottles off of the shelves?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Because the bottle, I think the bottle is meant to send a message. And if we lose the message, especially in the climate that we're in today, we need to have conversations that are uncomfortable, are unintended at times, but they need to be had. So I think what has to happen is the owner, the beer buyer, the previous producer needs to tell the story, so the bartender can tell the story and can start the conversation for the end consumer to have that conversation that's awkward, uncomfortable, to where we as humans, in especially the climate we're in today, can break that ice. And that bottle is meant to break the ice, regardless of how uncomfortable or anything that is. So I'm going to put a beer in front of you, and you're going to call me a racist, but I'm going to say, hey, actually turn the beer around and say, actually, this beer is made by awesome African Americans. This is why they made it.
They're European.
Yeah, he's not American.
he's a black European.
Yes, of Ethiopian descent. But to be honest, Matt, that is probably the smartest thing you've said about anything.
I was gonna say, holy crap! I agree with Matt Bush. Like,
Yeah,
what the heck is happening?
I actually agree with Matt Bush.
I 100% think this podcast is over, guys. Episode 227 in the books. Better on Draft Podcast. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, you know what? Let's end on this high note. And no matter what you think of your beer, we think it's...
Oh, his blood.
Better on Draft. Have a good night.
Kyle, Michigan beer. Peace.